thoughts of Middle East policy expert Harley Lippman. Let's bring him in. Harley Lippman, what's your take on this this corruption and bribery shenanigans?
I was listening to it very carefully, and I was dying to jump in and was speaking, but obviously I wasn't on yet. So yeah, I'd like to say a few things in response to what Spencer said. First, a little historical comparison. Ulysses S. Grant, arguably the best general in American history, failed at every single thing he ever did, multiple times. Yet he's considered to be, if not the best, certainly one of the best American generals in American history. He defeated the South and ended slavery. So just because someone has been a failure multiple times, sometimes those people, it's fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, whatever the number is when their moment comes. So I don't really value someone just trashing someone for past failures that they may have had. I like to focus on facts, and let's look at that. So let's take a good look at what has Trump accomplished. One, let's take foreign policy. He got out the hostages from Gaza and ended the fighting in Gaza. I don't think anybody could have done that. Two, he got NATO to agree to spend 5% of their GDP on defense. That will probably prevent a war in Europe. Putin has his eye on other countries in Europe, NATO countries in Europe. He's relentless, and everybody says he's not going to give up. If he sees 32 nations of NATO spending 5% of their GDP on defense, that's the most important thing that NATO can do to discourage Russia from going to war against a NATO nation, preventing World War III. Three, probably most important, he is trying to destroy, not since Nazi Germany, the most demonic regime that we have seen on this planet in the last century and this century. And a nation that has been at war with the West for 47 years, that murders its own people. They have 100,000 people in jail. They rape the women, they rape the men. This is a dictatorship that impoverishes their people and is focused on colonialism and imperialism. Just look at what they've done to Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Iraq. Those countries are impoverished, and the people in Iran are suffering in poverty because the leadership is spending money on conquest. This is what we're up against. So whatever Trump's motives are, the fact that he's degrading Iran and making them dramatically weaker, and hopefully they're on the brink of collapsing, which I think they will be. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I don't think this regime is sustainable, is a gift to the world. And that's what matters. All these people are obsessed with his flaws, and I say focused on substance, not style. And if you look at substance, Trump has, with all his flaws, done a spectacular job. And the last thing I'll say is he's finally got a strategy against China. Because when you look at the four nations, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and China, those four nations are stronger than the United States. And he is now, by taking Venezuela and Iran and potentially depriving China of oil, using it as leverage, it would make it very hard for China to attack Taiwan because they really depend on that cheap oil. So it's a brilliant strategy that every American president has kicked the can down the road about Iran. They pass it on to the next president. And the road gets, and the can gets heavier and the road gets shorter. So Trump is at least doing something now to address this regime that is building ICBMs. By the way, their missiles could reach Israel. So why are they building intercontinental ballistic missiles? Only one reason: to be able to reach the United States and Europe, England. So their intentions are clear, and I think that Trump is addressing this. And it's too early to say, because people say, what's his strategy? He wants to be unpredictable. He said that. He doesn't want to explain his strategy. Doesn't mean he doesn't have one. But the left is obsessed. They can't get over their hatred of Trump. And so they can't see that what he's doing is in the best interest of the world.
Yeah, I do find, Colin, and I don't want to upset anyone now by saying this, but it is Trump derangement syndrome. Forget politics, forget red and blue and everything else. I've never seen from a human perspective, the psychology is amazing. I have never seen such hatred towards one man. Okay, you can not like his language, you can not like his government policies, you can not like this and that, but I mean, I don't hate in my heart of hearts Keir Starmer. I dislike his leadership. I think he's a terrible leader. You know, I can say lots about him, but I spoke to some woman the other day in DC. We were just chit-chatting, and she said something about hopefully something bad. I won't say what she said, but hopefully something bad happens to the president where he dies. And I would never say that about my worst enemy, just as a human being, and it baffles me. It makes me laugh because it's so insane, actually. Especially
on matters of foreign policy, where you like to think everybody kind of comes together around the flag. It wasn't that long ago in this city when Osama bin Laden was killed under the watch of Barack Obama, and everybody rushed down to the White House, and it was this joyous moment of celebration, and everyone was happy. Left, right, and center. That's long gone, because whatever Trump does, you know, Trump could walk on water and they'd accuse him of not being able to swim, and that's just where he starts. So it doesn't really matter what he does, because every policy decision he makes is reflexively and automatically opposed by almost 50% of the country. Almost 50% of the country. Yeah, Laurie, what is that? I argue Trump derangement syndrome is real, and it's some sort of medical episode.
I would say that people on the right, they need to stop calling people on the left Trump derangement syndrome, and they should look at themselves, because it doesn't even make sense that you would call other people and accuse them of having a mental illness. And the fact that today the President of the United States, I'm not even going to repeat it, and I certainly ask that you don't either, use the R word to tell a story that you could tell was BS, that Kim Jong-un told him about President Biden, that he was mentally, and then used the R word. I mean, this guy, he's the one that uses words and expletives. Look at his tweet yesterday on Easter Sunday, dropping F-bombs. It's a point.
Really? Are you really offended by him dropping F-bombs on Easter Sunday?
I'm offended by a lot of the things that he does on behalf of our country, because it doesn't make us look too great, that's for sure.
Adam, what's your take? Again, the human psychology of the hatred towards Trump, Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. I've seen it in real life, and I find it. I think it'll be studied on in years to come by health experts. I think it's utterly bizarre. I'm in agreement with you. I think there's a lot of people on the left that show signs of mental illness, especially when it comes to Donald Trump. Look, one thing Laurie said earlier about the Board of Peace. Are you insinuating that Trump personally is taking money out of that Board of Peace? You really think that he would be able to take money off of countries and get away with that, honestly? Laurie?
Not answering.
Well, maybe the left, Ben, maybe the left should ask why people like Nancy Pelosi are worth hundreds of millions of dollars when they weren't before they went into politics.
We should not have
That's what I would like to ask.
Members of Congress that can do insider trading. I would agree with you. We need to ban that. We've tried many times in the House and Senate, and they don't vote for it. So there you go.
Maybe the point.
And again, Republicans are in control of the House and Senate, and they choose not to take
We talk about
those
hoaxes. The left talks about hoaxes a lot. The biggest hoax that the left ever sold this country is that Joe Biden was fit as a fiddle and ready to be commander-in-chief. That was a lie that was sold for 4 years.
Wow.
And he fell on his face in that debate. The American people realized they'd been had, and they reelected Donald Trump as a result. So for all the people out there complaining about Donald Trump, you have only yourself to blame, because you were the ones out there telling us that Joe Biden was doing cartwheels across Kyiv.
Right, let's move the conversation on a bit.
Well, you know, if I can make a comment.
Harley,
we're going to put a lawsuit against you, Adam. Watch yourself.
Bring it on.
You know, the Obama administration.
Go on, Harley.
What a joke.
The Obama administration fired over 500 drones across the Pakistani-Afghani border in targeted assassinations. The media applauded. Then Obama bombed Libya for 7 months, never got congressional approval. Think of the double standard. The Democrats are now up in arms. Trump didn't get congressional approval to go to war against Iran. But there's hypocrisy here. And I think why a lot of people like Trump
in America, he got his regime change, though, didn't he?
Get support. Why people like Trump is because they say he's real. He's not a hypocrite. What he says about what I think Spencer is alluding to, it's not corruption. Trump says the business of America is business. And if he and his children want to do business, they're doing business. You may not like it, you may not approve of it, but it's not corruption.
Yeah, and also if you want to dig into that, people's sons and stuff doing business, look at Hunter Biden. What was he up to with Ukraine and China and so on? I mean, let's just, left a bag of coke at the White House, for goodness sake. You want to talk about corrupt and shameless people. Let's play one more clip from today. It was, again, this is a very personal conversation. This is President Trump when he was asked about breaking potential war crimes, the Geneva Convention, by bombing civilian infrastructure. Let's take a look.
They would be willing to, and it's suffering, they would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom. The Iranians have, and we've had numerous intercepts. Please keep bombing. Bombs that are dropping near their homes. Please keep bombing. Do it. And these are people that are living where the bombs are exploding. And when we leave and we're not hitting those areas, they're saying, please come back, come back, come back.
Harley, please keep bombing, he thinks the Iranians are saying. They said even when they leave a site that they've bombed, they're begging him to come back and bomb it some more.
That is correct. The problem is he doesn't communicate it as effectively as he needs to. That's the problem. But what he's trying to say is that the people of Iran do not want America to stop attacking the IRGC, the Basij, and other areas of repression that the Iranian government is using to keep down the people. Trump is on the side of the will of the people. Where are the Democrats on that? The will of the people. No, I don't think anybody disputes that 80–90% of the people in Iran hate this regime. They murder homosexuals. They murder women that won't cover themselves. They slaughter their own people, chase them into hospitals, shoot them as they're lying in hospital beds recovering. This is who they are. And I think that instead of getting caught up in hating his style, his mannerisms, his curse words, yeah, that's very undesirable. If he was coachable, he'd be a lot better. But look at his results. All the Democratic presidents, what did they do about Iran? Obama gave money to Iran. What is that about? This is a regime. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Harley. So I thought you finished. There's a slight delay, so it's difficult. Laurie, when you hear President Trump saying the Iranians want this, they want to be bombed, they want the regime taken out, that is the argument a lot from the left generally, is that the Iranians never asked for this. I mean, Trump saying they did ask for it, they wanted regime change, and he even said today, he said the Iranian people need to rise up and overthrow their government. However, he understands, President Trump, that they can't do that right now, because he said if they walk out the door, they're going to get a bullet between the eyes, as he described it.
Yes, many months ago when around 40,000 innocent Iranians who decided to take to the streets because the currency was basically worth nothing, and small business owners, they started coming out in opposition to this government as well. Yes, and then Trump drew a red line, which he didn't cross over, which said, I will help you. Help is on the way. And that never happened. By bombing indiscriminately civilians and these power plants and energy sites, water desalination, that is not at all what the Iranians want our government or our military to do. Not at all. And Lippman, he made a good point by saying his communication style, he doesn't do it as effectively as he should. Yeah, I would double down on that.
So can I ask you, Laurie, when the Iranian people said, please help us, Go on, Holly.
Yeah, it's not true. First off, the United States is targeting military installations. Given that there's been 13,000 airstrikes, there's very, very few Iranian civilians that have been killed. It's remarkable. There's collateral damage in all wars. Yet you look at Iran, they're attacking civilian centers intentionally. This is the difference. They're attacking
180 children died, so let's not forget about them.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. That is tragic, but that was a mistake. There are mistakes. It's not fair to blame the Trump administration for a mistake in warfare. All countries in war make mistakes. England and America made many mistakes in World War II. Look at Dresden. There were many mistakes made in war, but you have to look at the intent. That was a mistake, and that does happen. So I think that when we look at what Iran is doing by attacking the hotel in Dubai, they are deliberately attacking civilian centers in Israel. They know where military headquarters are. They're spending most of their missiles and drones attacking civilian areas. They have precise missiles. So there's the difference here between the United States and Iran, and I think you really should recognize that.
Okay.
I I hope that you stand by your words when you say look at intent, because it was very clear today in that press conference that Donald Trump was very intentional in the words that he used about specific sites that he would bomb.
Okay, he said that the Iranian people would be approving of that, by the way, bombing infrastructure.
And that is horse crap. You know that, Ben.
Let's wrap this conversation and move on after your weather. After the break, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he has just signed an executive order to ban Sharia law